Hello and welcome to the Millionaire Way podcast with Sargam, your energy coach and the author of the upcoming book, The Millionaire Way. Today I'm going to introduce a special guest on my podcast, Thaddeus Lawrence. Thaddeus is a trainer, speaker, and entrepreneur. He's also the author of the book, The Runaway Success, and he's impacted more than 1.2 lakh people through his work of business and personal coaching and creating a lot of success in their life. He has been featured on a lot of TV shows, publications and books and articles, and he's doing a phenomenal work in coaching the coaches. He has also shared stage with some of the leading speakers and coaches in the world, like Jack Canfield, Randy Zuckerberg, and his work has brought in a different perspective to life. So I welcome to you my next guest for 2020, Thaddeus Lawrence. Welcome, Thaddeus, to the Millionaire Way podcast.
Excellent. Thank you for having me, Sagam. I'm really excited, particularly about this episode since we are really wrapping up the year and, as far as I'm concerned, starting a brand new year right now. So really looking forward to our chat here and what will transpire for our listeners.
Thank you. I'm sure there is a lot to inspire, through you. So let's start. Thaddeus, what has been how did you start on this journey of personal development? What has your early life been like?
Oh, my early life, whenever people know me as who I am today, or they hear about, whatever accomplishments I have, one of the questions they always ask is, were you always like that? Were you like that when you were young? What was your school days like? And I say that if you had known me back then, you would have seen quite a different child, quite a different young man altogether. And if I was to identify a particular period in my life where things began to take a change, because we never fully transformed, are we, Sagam? And you know this, and your work and energy, energy is a flow, and just like transformation, it's always this progress and process. The metamorphosis, right, of an individual. So, rather than say that the transformation took place when, I would say, well, the process began when, and I would say it began after graduation. And I was living in the UK at the time. And that was those days where I began to experience life through travels. And most of my travels then were in the form of voluntary work in various parts of the world. And so it's not a intellectual exercise, but it was a lived experience that I went through for that, period of a few years.
Okay. And you've done this ultra endurance training, which probably I've not heard much about, but traveling 1,000 kilometers in different deserts. How did that happen? And then you wrote a beautiful book called The Runaway Success. Can you know more about that?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, it was something that I didn't think I would ever do. I think, again, not necessarily particularly adventurous when I was younger, in my younger days. But I think in every human being, there's always this part of us that gets really curious, or at least attracted to, people who do weird, crazy stuff, right? And there was always that part of me that was I was aware that it was alive too. And, the short of it, I mean, if you ask anybody about why they'll go off and, climb a mountain or to trek to the poles or run a long distance race and engage in anything that's extreme, that's full of endurance, you'll probably hear the same usual answers, along the lines of, I want to stretch my boundaries. I wanted to push my limits. I wanted to discover myself. I wanted to accomplish something. I wanted to come alive. And those are very valid. It's definitely a shared experience, a common thing. There is, however, just like in life, as a coach, and you would see this in your clients who come to you. One of the questions I ask clients who come to me who want to get coaching and say, look, I want to work on something. Could you help me? One of the questions I ask them is, why now? Mm-hmm. That, everyone has known for forever that they need to take care of their health, that they would probably want to eat well and sleep well and, drink well. everybody for the longest time would say, oh yeah, I want to make more money and be financially free. So these are not new goals. Yeah. Right? They didn't wake up and go kind of, yeah, I want to go and run this. I want to do this. I want to achieve this. And because that why now question allows us it gives us that opening to coaching, right? So it's no different when it comes to doing crazy stuff like this. There's always a tipping point, a straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak. And I'm always curious about that. And for me personally, I think the final thing, I wouldn't say it was not the cause, mm-hmm. or by no means the main inspiration, but I think that final thing, the straw that broke the camel's back, was a relationship I was in. My fiance, we were going to get married. We had booked the dates, and we all set. And in the last possible moment, she called off the wedding, which kind of prompted this period of kind of grief for me, and a lot of self-reflection, a lot of introspection. And one of the questions I asked myself was, was I living my fullest and being my fullest self when I was in that relationship, or had I closed off, shrunk, sacrificed? Mm-hmm. And as part of the reflective process, I thought, what, let's do something out of this world, right? Extraordinary. And that was what kicked off that first desert run. And that was in the Sahara Desert in Egypt. And then 18 months later, there was 1,000 kilometers, 4 deserts. Time magazine rated it as it's on its top 10 endurance races on the world. And till to date, fewer people have completed that series of races than there have been people who have climbed Mount Everest. In other words, every year more people climb Mount Everest, mm-hmm. than there are people who have ever completed these 4 deserts races, which also kind of brings forth the idea, which is really more an idea, that we ordinary people are capable of truly extraordinary things. You, me, every single listener that we've got on your amazing podcast right now is capable, an ordinary person who is capable with a promised potential of accomplishing something truly extraordinary. And I captured all that in my book, Runaway Success. The subtitle kind of mm-hmm. says it more, which is life lessons from ultra endurance racing, because life is an ultra endurance race, right? It's a test. We are endowed with certain gifts, and every day we need to get up and do it all over again.
So what, according to you, is that makes somebody extraordinary, from ordinary to extraordinary? What are the qualities, key qualities that you think?
Yeah. When you ask that question, I'm reminded of this quote by Mother Teresa, whom is an extraordinary individual, and she had her convent in Calcutta, mm-hmm. and she would say that in life we can't do great things. We can only do small things with great love.
Yeah.
And that is absolutely amazing, because it speaks not to the thing that we've done or that we are doing, but to us and the essence of who we are. And certainly the essence of her was love. And I would say that secret, if there's such a thing, is really identifying, understanding what is the essence of you, what is the essential quality of you. Is it love? Is it care? Is it connection? Is it honor? Who are you? Who are you?
Yeah, so beautifully said. And Thaddeus, the one thing that I really like about you is the authenticity with which you are doing this work. And I've been part of one of your program, and to my surprise, I saw it's not only about becoming a great coach, but you also keep emphasizing the importance of becoming the best version of yourself, striving to become more authentic. So why is authenticity so important in life, when we are seeing people are trying to put on masks in order to please people, and we talk about living different kinds of life, having a professional life, a personal life, and what all kind of life, we end up living in that.
So why is it so important, to be authentic in our work?
Great question. So many kind of possible angles to approach that. First of all, people put on masks to survive, right? We have certain core needs in every human being. We've got core needs. And when any of those needs are threatened, we need to protect ourselves. That's part of the self-preservation instinct that jumps in. And big part of the reason why people put on masks is for survival, so that they get, the love and approval that they seek, so that they belong, right, or have a sense of belonging. So that's why we put on masks. And for me, why is authenticity so important? Is because if you're not authentic, you get found out pretty quickly, right? Pretty quickly. And the irony is that, we put on this mask to belong and to be approved of. And if, we keep behind that mask, or we thicken this mask, eventually, and usually quite quickly, we get found out. And when you get found out, you'll find yourself either not belonging and not getting approval and love that you seek, or actually you find yourself belonging to another group, or a misfit, right, with people whose values are not aligned with yours. And especially in this work that we do, right? People say things like, "Oh, what are you? Are you a transformation coach? Are you a success coach? Are you a life coach? Are you what kind of coach?" I say, well, the only people who care about what they are called are the coaches themselves, right? The people whom we are helping, right? Our clients, the people around us, Sargam, they don't care what we are called, right? They care that we can help them with something with their lives. So we are in the business of life here.
Absolutely.
Right? We're in the business of life, and especially in this work. And I always say that you cannot be in this work of personal development if you're not developing yourself, which is what makes you such a great coach in terms of the work that you do. You don't just go out there and coach and help it to teach. You make sure that you are learning, you're investing in yourself. You've come, you learned from me. That's how we met as well. And that is congruent, right? That because there's a saying that you got to practice what you preach, and I think that we've kind of got it the other way around, right? Because to say practice what you preach seems to be preach first, then practice, and I think deeper truth needs to be the other way around. Is that you only get to preach whatever you're practicing. You practice first, then you get to preach, right? You work on yourself first, then you get to earn the right to work with other people. Right, and so you cannot be in this work of self-development if you're not developing yourself, and that's so important in this work that we do, that we show up in terms of who we are. I think a lot of people come into this space, and especially I think now in this year, technology has made things a lot more accessible to a lot of people, and all of a sudden, the turn of year when the pandemic hit, I was getting a lot of requests on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and everyone and anyone all of a sudden is a coach, right? Everyone all of a sudden is a trainer. You kind of go like, "Ooh, okay, that's new. Never seen it before. Where did you come from?" And so what happens when you look at coaches and trainers, the metrics for their success is, "Oh, I want to touch 1 million lives. I want to impact 100,000 people." But what they really mean is that they want to get 1 million followers on Instagram. What they're really referring to is that they want to get 100,000 likes on their Facebook page. That's not impacting lives. It's likes, not lives, right? And so, like for us with our team, it doesn't matter what program we're doing, whether it's a one-on-one private client or in one of those bigger programs when people come in. We see lives, we see names, right? Me and my team, and a couple of my team members, like we talk and go like Sargam, we're like, "Okay, yeah, that's Sargam," right? There's a name behind that individual, right? It's not X number of rupees that just came in because X number of people just signed up. No, that somebody just entrusted you with their lives, their dreams, their goals, their hopes, their futures. Doesn't matter how much they paid for it, right? And in our work, private clients pay a lot of money, and then we've got webinars that people pay very little money, but it doesn't matter how much people pay. The fact is that that person has a name, the person has a life, and we got to celebrate those. Right? Yeah.
So, how do you master your inner game, Thaddeus? Because you are in this personal development space for a long time, and I've seen you on some of the, as a speaker on some of the most aspiring and inspiring stages in the world. So, how do you keep mastering your inner game? Because I'm sure, with COVID and with so much happening around in our own lives, we need to stay in balance in order to give that to our clients.
Yeah, I'm very fond, and this is through my own kind of learnings as well from my own teachers. Is one of the things we say is to be on to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Anything that happens, whether it's a great thing that happens or it's a terrible thing that happens, right? Someone, people owe you money, right? Or people break their trust, right? Or break your trust, or you don't get what you want. Through to you got what you want. You just closed your biggest sale. You've just been recognized for a huge accomplishment or achievement. But every single one of these things is just one thing happening in your life. Now, the moment that thing happens, what happens internally for you? How do you think? How do you feel? How do you then act on it? And when you're onto yourself, you get to see yourself, right? And I think that's the biggest discovery in life. It's like going through a test. But what you want to be able to do is step out of that and look at yourself and go like, how are you doing in this test so far, right? Same way when you've been entrusted with something. It's just step out, look at that, and go like, now how are you dealing with that trust? Right? So be honest to yourself, right? Keep and be honest with yourself, right? It's one thing putting on a mask and showing it to the world, and quite another when you look in the mirror and then you still see the mask, right? Don't you can lie to other people, you can't lie to yourself.
Absolutely.
Right. So don't lie to yourself, right? Be open and honest. Now, not lying doesn't mean that you got to beat yourself up, right? Or hate yourself for this, or the world is doing a great enough job of beating you up, right? You don't need to help it along. So yeah, be on to yourself.
And what inspires you every day to live your purpose?
It's a I watch sports, right? Formula One, football, and there's always a lot of books, a lot of studies, a lot of commentaries done on the big top players in the game. And it's one of the things that's true for people who are right at the top of the very game is more than loving to win, they hate losing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They hate losing, or they fear losing more than they love or desire to win. I always find that fascinating. And as you asked me the question of what kind of inspires me to live my purpose, I think it's that fear that I'm not living my purpose, right? That I've just let another day slip by. That kind of scares me, and I would hate for that.
That really brought in something within me, probably. Yeah, you're right. The fear of not living your purpose that keeps you going and delivering better.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, see, it's like this, right? We look at, let's take money as an example, right? One of the things you want to do with your money is to grow that money, right? And take it and invest in an asset that is income producing, right? So in other words, I have X amount of dollars, what can I buy for that would give me a good, healthy returns? And every single time, and that's why if that money isn't invested in an income producing asset, what happens? The money just sitting under your bed or under your pillow, and it's not doing anything. That's wasted potential. And then at some point that money will be spent. So now replace that money with you. If you could be investing your energy, your life in something that is producing a return of energy that could be accomplishing more, but you're not, then you're no different from that bundle of money that you just put under your pillow. Well, in fact, it's even more of a waste because of what you could be generating with your life. The possibilities are way bigger than that sum of money, that pile of cash that you've got.
Mm-hmm.
So every single day that you're not investing your energy, your life in something that inspires you, that inspires the world, that contributes to the world, then you're just rusting away.
True. Probably that will give some fire to all the listeners in 2021. Make your life worthwhile.
Yeah, the fire, and the word inspire. A lot of people don't know when we use that a lot, but a lot of people don't know that the Latin root word of inspire is inspirare, and the definition or the meaning of inspirare is to breathe.
Oh.
I invite all our listeners right now to take a breath, a conscious breath. I know you've been breathing all this time, and when we do that, at the most basic, fundamental level, breathing keeps us alive. You stop breathing. If anyone doesn't believe me, just hold your breath right now and just keep holding it, and then we'll see what happens. Please don't. So breathing keeps us alive. And so inspirare or inspire means to breathe. In other words, when you're inspired by someone, when you're inspired by some great project, when you're inspired by your life, you come alive.
Absolutely.
And so the question is, what is going to have you come alive? What is 2021 and alive 2021? What's it going to look like? What's it going to sound like? What's it going to feel like for you? Because if you're not coming alive, then you're not inspired, or you're not inspiring. So keep breathing.
Yeah.
And return to the essence of who you are, the essential quality is that quality of your aliveness that's shining through.
Beautiful. I'm sure this is going to really help the listeners. So, Thaddeus, you've been working with some of the most successful people. What do you think is the energetic blueprint of success? Or we have to say, 3 essentials that create a successful person that you've seen across some of these, amazing people that you've worked with or coached.
That sounds like a question I should be asking you, Sargam. You are the energy coach. Well, I would say one of the things, blueprint, right, is make sure you get Sargam as your coach. have her work with you. Definitely. I don't know. Let's. What would you identify as one of that blueprint for someone's success or at least an energy flow in your experience?
The basic thing that I feel, that is the essence for success is to allow yourself to fail. People who are ready to, accept failure and keep going in their life are the ones who are able to reach to the top. So one of the things is, just allow yourself to try, and it's okay to fail. And learn and then try again. And that is how life evolves for you. That is how, probably you can just allow yourself to be. So one thing is that, then self-awareness, being authentic to yourself. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Do not beat yourself up for your weaknesses. Work on your strengths and, on your journey, keep working on your weaknesses.
Beautiful. I love that. And I'm going to give a different slant to the same idea of allowing yourself to. One of the things that I do, or I used to do just, before COVID, which we will pick back up again once travel happens, is to bring people out to the mountains as a journey into self.
Wow.
Imagine nature as a classroom, mountains as the teachers, and then you've got someone like myself as your coach out there. We bring people to climb mountains, and last year one of the trips we made was to Kazakhstan, and it was a 2-week long expedition up into the mountains, And, we've got the high mountains of snow and ice, and then we've got the lower mountains of, very lush, verdant green hills. And those that lower mountains were our staging point, right? That's where, our base before we head out to, and we needed to take a helicopter ride even to the high mountains. So there we were at the end of our expedition. We had come back from the high mountains, and we were, having a day in the low mountains just to, get cleaned up, go through our gear before we head back into the city and then onwards to our flight. And, while we were there, one of our mountaineering guides, a local man, his son, who was about kind of 7-8 years old, had joined us in those low mountains, and he was teaching his son archery. Now, archery is one of the national sports of Kazakhstan.
Okay.
And I was watching them at it, and I thought, oh, I've never shot an arrow before, and they're doing it in, this is the place. If there's any other place to do archery, Kazakhstan. So I went out to our guide and said, hey, look, could you, is it okay if you gave me some lessons to teach me how to shoot? And he was very excited that, we've got this foreigner here who is demonstrating an interest in his national sport. And I said, yeah, sure, come. So he taught me the basics of bow and arrows. And then he left me to my devices. Now, what we had was, there was this target, right? This big, huge white board. And on this whiteboard was like an A4 size piece of paper. And on this paper were all the different rings, right? The circles for the target. And, what does success look like? Is success, everyone wants to hit the bullseye, the small circle in that target.
Yeah.
And so, my guy teaches me basic, then he goes behind, and then he sits under the shade, and then he watches me. And there I am, shooting arrow after arrow after arrow. And, once every so often I hear him in the background going, oh, nice shot. Oh, good job, Thaddeus, good job. Oh, well done. And after a while, there was a mix of curiosity and also a bit of annoyance, because, what was going on, Sangam? I was not hitting the target, right? I was missing. I was, never mind, forget about the bullseye. I was missing the target. I was missing that piece of paper, right? My arrows were going everywhere else. And I thought, why does he keep saying nice job and good job and well done? I'm like, I'm not hitting the thing. So I turned around and said, what's going on? Like, why do you keep saying that? Because, I'm making a mess out of things here. And my guide stands out. He comes towards me and says, oh, Thaddeus, you don't understand. Come. He brings me to the board and says, tell me, where are your arrows landing? I say, well, they're not landing on the bullseye, that's for sure. He goes, yeah. But where are they landing? Now, as it turns out, Saga, my arrows were missing the paper, but they were somehow gathering in a top left corner of the board. And I say, well, they're all around here, this area. He goes, yes, that's what you accomplished in this short time that you've been shooting. He says, you see, if your arrows were going anywhere and everywhere, and sometimes they hit the bullseye and sometimes they hit the target, that's not good. That's just luck. Right? It doesn't mean anything. It's not going to happen again. Right? He says, but what you have here right now, all your arrows being here, he says, this is consistency. And we have a saying in Kazakhstan that when you're consistent in your actions, your target will appear.
Wow.
Yeah. And I just thought, wow. And when you take that kind of ancient wisdom from, Kazakhstan, and that's what, and you marry that with Western philosophy, like Jim Rohn, who's the, mentor Tony Robbins, and he says something along the lines of how success is not something that you pursue. Success is something that ensues as a result of who you become. And so therefore, success is not something that you chase. Success is something you allow to happen. The target will appear. And, part of our, year end, we do a great deal of reflections, right? Me and my clients, which is a great activity to be engaged in for your listeners here as we wrap up 2020, is to look back in the year. And I have this private client, Kalian, started working in April this year, and he was starting to come out as a as a coach and as a trainer and build a business around that, and struggling, right? Struggling with that because it's new. COVID had hit as well. So it was, just tough for him. And, there were financial pressures at home. And even his wife was saying, look, listen, you keep going for these courses and you try to build these businesses. Clearly, you're not any good at it, so why don't you just stick to your job, right? And then we have some kind of security and stable income, stop thinking about starting our business and all these big goals. And, we've failed time in it, or you failed time and time again. So stop doing that. The family needs you, the family needs security. And so that was the kind of pressure he was coming on, right? At home, financially, in a business, COVID and the like. And that was what was going on for him, right? It was like, we're putting in the consistent action, and boy, he was just consistent in his actions, even though, just like me, he was missing the target. And just last month in November, we had a kind of towards the year end, and say, okay, look, let's take a look at the year now, and what are some of the wins we have. Well, Sangam, I tell you what, 6 months of him taking action and being consistent, target, was missed, but the target did appear, right? And when we closed off, and one of the things we want to look at is actual results, right? Actual results. And well, he made 1.83 crores. That was the target that appeared in his life, right? So that's the big thing here. Everyone wants to be an overnight success. Everyone wants instant gratification. No one's willing to do an ultra endurance race, right? Of life. Everyone wants to, sprint 100 meters, every 100 meters for an entire marathon. Well, either you drop out of the race, or you get burnt out very quickly, or you won't even do it in the first place. So, we have this whole life, success. Let's allow, as much as you allow yourself to fail, so that you can allow success to appear.
Yeah. Beautifully put. So personally, Thaddeus, for you, how, what was that one learning from 2020, the year of the COVID?
Yeah. The year of the COVID, this book that you and I do, Sagam, at the end of the day, I say we're in the business of human connection.
Mm-hmm.
And, with COVID, we've discovered, two things. Number one, with all the lockdowns, is that we are missing human connection.
Yeah.
Right? Number one. Number two, with the new ways of working, people are going all high tech. And here's what I say: the work that we do in human connection is high touch work. High tech doesn't replace high touch. Machines do not replace people, except that in jobs. Machines can replace people in jobs, but in terms of how we as a human species, us as individuals, survive and thrive, you can't communicate with machines and not people. You can't make love to machines instead of people, right? You can't get emotional and exchange emotional energy with machines than you do with people. Back about 5 years ago, PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers, was commissioned to do a study of the coaching industry. And then they discovered that, based on numbers, that coaching was the second fastest growing sector, right, in the world. And what was the fastest growing sector? Technology. All right. It's no accident that the more high tech we go, the more high touch we need to go. Right? They go together. It's not a replacement.
Mm-hmm.
And so my biggest lesson for this year has been around that, and leading on into 2021 is, my wife and I were talking about this the other day. I think one of the things that we shall intend for 2021 is to be more available to people.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's very important. And with the clients that even I was working, I think that is what will become one of the most precious resources going forward.
Absolutely.
Personal connection.
Yeah. Because the quality of our lives depends on the quality of our relationships. Think about it. I bet you every single high that you've experienced in your life and every single low that you've experienced with your life, somebody else was involved in it.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So if we want to have a much better quality of lives, we need to give a much better focus on a commitment even to our relationships. And relationships are all about connections.
Absolutely. Thaddeus, like, how do you keep that Zen state? I'm looking at you and I feel that instant connection with the vibe. So is there a ritual that you do? Do you meditate? Do you do gratitude? What is your, ritual for keeping you aligned?
Yeah. Look, I'm just like every human being, right? I get moments where I'm in Zen state. I get moments when I'm flustered. I get moments where, and so, I pay a great deal to my energy and especially how I start and I finish the day. So one big thing I would say, so, we're always looking. So rather than answering your question from what I do, it reads like a YouTube video or something that, like the first thing millionaires do every day, or rituals of the rich and wealthy and successful. So rather than accumulating more doing, I would say, let's look at it the way around, right? Think about what you can decommit from in terms of stopping or deleting and getting rid of. And insofar as a daily ritual is, I don't get into any gadget or phone or technology in the first hour. Right? People jump out of bed and, oh God, let me check out the Facebook post. How many more followers do I have on Instagram? And who cares? What that does is it sucks you into, it's unproductive energy. Let's put it that way. Okay. So I focus on how I start the day, and there are different things that I do. But the thing that I don't do is to get into reading the news.
Yeah.
First thing in the day. I don't get into what's going on in the world of social media. Because nothing can have happened in the last 24 hours that's going to severely or powerfully impact my life. Guarantee you that. Right. Most of it is going to suck my energy and draw my focus away. So one big ritual is stop or delay your technology, your social media, your gadgets, and same thing at the end of the day as well. Right. One of my rituals is, I put my phone to charge, but it's in a separate room. Okay. So no television in the bedroom, no laying in bed watching your YouTube videos or whatever. And then your bedroom is a sacred space. It's a place for rest and repose. Honor that space. Right. Your gadgets just shift the energy in that space, and they just really steal the energy. So that's the one thing I would say, right? Tech and gadgets and social media out first thing morning and last thing at night.
Great. And how do you balance your life? The work-life balance that we keep talking about. And especially while we are all at home right now, so there are the boundaries tend to just fade away. So how are you doing that?
Yeah, with difficulty, right? I think people underestimate the impact of COVID on our lives, right? There's this tendency to want to be very quick and come on, get over it, right? Deal with it, right? You can handle this. But when you think about it, our lives have been affected severely, right? I know a lot of clients. Well, not a lot, but some of my clients they've lost lives. Some of my clients have had COVID. At the very least, your daily movements have been impacted. So, this is a crisis, an individual crisis of sorts. Yeah, and sometimes it could be the simplest thing. I had a client in the Philippines, and she runs her own business, and one-hour sessions, because I teach coaches how to coach as well. And there was one thing that she wanted to, potentially kind of move herself into, right, to become a professional coach. And then when the virus hit in Manila in Philippines, it was one of the first places that went into lockdown, and pretty severe kind of lockdowns. I said, I can't get anything done, productive. I'm spending time with my nephews and nieces. We got big family here, my siblings. And then, I'm doing this, I can't talk. And then when I'm trying to do work and then they're there, they want to play with me as well. Talk. And I say, okay, great. Just describe to me how it works, and says, well, the house is like this, and then this is what happens. And I say, okay, look, very simply, right? Let's do this, right? You have a room which you share with other people, different times of the day, but this room where your table is, and this is where your laptop is, and that's where you do the work. She goes, yeah, okay, good. So next time when you want to do some piece of work, communicate to the children and to everyone and say, look, Auntie Carla is going to go into the room and do some work for, the next however minutes or hours. And then after that, we're going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Number two, I say, just do this thing, just close the door. All right? And she came back the next time, and it was as though she discovered, a treasure. She was like, oh my gosh, like it really worked. Just closing the door, because normally people are coming in and out of the bedrooms, but just by closing the door, kind of setting a boundary, no one came in. And then of course it helped that I communicated, that to them. And I know I can actually focus. I was so productive. I was getting things done. I was like, there was no magic dust that was sprinkled, right? It's the basic fundamentals, and people don't like to do basic fundamental things, Sagam. People always want what's that big secret that's going to make me $1 million, that's going to, shed 20 kilograms, that's going to give me wonderful, beautiful relationships. Back to basics. Do the work. It's not sexy. Mm-hmm. I get it. It's not necessarily new, but you know what? It works.
It does. Thaddeus, what do you want to be remembered as,
No, I think people who want to be remembered are self-absorbed. Because no one is remembered forever and ever and ever, right? Mm-hmm. Think about some of the biggest names who have made some of the biggest impact in lives. Many of them have been forgotten, right? So remembrance has an expiry date.
Yeah, it does.
Right? And if we, here's how I put it. I don't know if you watch stand-up comedy. I love stand-up comedy, and one comedian who was this kind of Chinese Malaysian, Chinese in ethnicity. His mother was Malaysian, but he was born and bred in the UK, right? So he looks Chinese, but he sounds, totally, Caucasian British. And his surname is Wang, W-A-N-G, right? And then, so Phil is his first name. He says, Phil Wang, and goes like, I've got this dream. He says, first of all, so I've got this girlfriend, and she's a white lady, and we're planning to have kids. We want to have kids, and you know what? I want to have a son, and I want my son to have children with another white lady. And then I want their son to have children with another white lady. And so on and on and on and on. So that 1,000 years from now, all traces of Chinese DNA has been wiped out from these generations. And so what will end up is a whole bunch of white people in London with the surname Wang, and I have no idea why. Yeah, that was hilarious. Of course, he tells it in a much better way than I do. And I think that's how I would answer your question, Sagam, is to go out there and keep impacting people. You and I came into each other's space. You attended one of my programs, and you've stayed in touch, stayed in the game. And so if I could impact you positively, and then you impact your listeners positively, who then go on and impact somebody else positively. And right now at this stage, your life has changed in some way, big or small, because of me. And you know it.
Yeah.
Now, you brought me onto your show, and hopefully I'm impacting your listeners' lives in some way that is, well, positive and inspirational, and they know it.
Mm-hmm.
But if they go and impact someone else, who then goes on to impact someone else, who then goes on to impact someone else, one day people will forget or not even know that Thaddeus was a part of this equation in the first place. That's how I like to not be remembered.
Profound. Yeah. For 2021, what would be your New Year message for the audience? How can they make it better, more impactful, especially, when we are trying to come out of the COVID situation, or maybe in the new normal?
Yeah, I'd say take care of yourselves. Take care of yourselves. When we look at this year, and even not, it could have been, COVID, but also the way that, as societies we are progressing. COVID is one adversity on the health realm, right, that we're dealing with. But when you look at it also on a social level, when you look at it in terms of kind of environmentally, right, politically and the likes, there are so many, we're dealing with so much. And, what I'm noticing is that there's this extreme sensitivity that people have now, right? It seems like it's so easy to get offended by something. Oh my gosh, I can't believe you said that. I'm offended. All right. And I go, wow. Right. Or people kind of, have this, like kind of violent reaction just because you disagree on something. Right. So on one hand, there's this extreme sensitivity that people are developing. And on the other side, related, there's almost this willingness to violently defend your point of view, right? That you cannot think like this, you cannot think like that. And, ironically, the proponents of freedom of expression and this and that are there people who are, least open to other people's expression or their point of views. So when we look at this extreme sensitivity and this kind of violent protection of the stance, it speaks to what's going on in people's lives, right? There's strong sense of threat, unmet needs that's created this. So my wish for everybody for 2021 is take care of yourself, because if there's any kind of dysfunctional behavior or thought patterns that you're noticing, if you're onto yourself, that's where it starts from. We're not taking care of ourselves, right? And think about your sources of energy, mental, emotional, physical, spiritual. Take care of those energy sources. It's like running a multi-day ultra marathon. The points where you stop and take a drink are just as important as the points where you're speeding up in your runs.
Yeah, absolutely. Great message, Thaddeus. So we have a short section called the rapid fire. And I just have 5 questions that I would be asking you.
Okay, good. So these are rapid fire. So I got to be rapid fire my response as well. No long stories, just quick rapid fire answers. Yeah, I get that. Okay.
Okay, so what is your favorite book?
My favorite book is Runaway Success, Life Lessons from Ultra Endurance Racing.
Awesome. Who's your favorite superhero?
My favorite superhero is my mother.
What is your favorite quote?
My favorite quote, you only live once. Actually, you know what? No, I tell you what, but I don't mean it in the kind of reckless, endangering, let's go and have a bucket list kind of way. But you only live once, so therefore, truly, truly treasure it as truly precious.
Which is your favorite holiday destination?
New Zealand.
And who is your favorite or inspiring personality?
Favorite inspiring personalities. I think people who go out there and go against the grain, but they are not recognized for it. They are not famous because they have created billion-dollar companies. They are not famous because they are a personality, but they are relatively, unknowns. No one's heard of them. No one knows them. but they go out there and they just go against the grain and they live life in a way that's grounded, centered, and true to who they are.
Beautiful. Thaddeus, how can my audience reach out to you? I know you're not there much on Instagram or on Facebook, so how can they reach out to you?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Follow me on Facebook. I do have an Instagram account. I'm not on there. I'm not active. So yeah, and I've got a website, ThaddeusLawrence.com. Or yeah, if they want to get in touch, and I think I can trust your listeners here, Sargam, in kind of respecting the space as well. You want to drop me an email, coach@thecoachinghand.com, and tell me what makes you come alive. Okay, if you're going to get in touch with me, I'll be open to that. But first, introduce yourself and tell me what makes you come alive in your life.
Absolutely. And I'm sure they will be in safe hands. So join the Coaching Hand.
Absolutely. Yeah. We've got, the Coaching Hand. There's a Facebook group. Answer the questions and then come on in. And 2021 starts now.
Absolutely, it does. So thank you so much, Thaddeus, for this beautiful, podcast. And I truly wish a lot of success, a lot of happiness your way in 2021. Stay blessed.
Definitely. Beautiful. Thank you for having me. I'm glad, a big reason why I have scheduled our call for morning. This is your ritual question, which is something that's going to make you come alive. I know that just by speaking with you and seeing you, Sargam, is going to start my day on the right note, right? It's going to bring energy to my life. And so I'm delighted for this opportunity. And I thank you. Have an amazing end to 2020 and absolutely stonking, spectacular 2021.
Thank you. And I wish all my listeners the same.
Absolutely.
So thank you, Thaddeus. Thank you so much.